I think by the end of the season, I'd still give it to Patrick Mahomes. I think Mahomes is absolutely in the lead and will be the winner at the end of the season. He not only leads the league in passing yards, but also touchdowns as a whole. And I mean, of course, the award's not just awards and quarterback passing touchdowns and things like that. It's also about narrative and having that big name. And who has a better narrative and a bigger name than Patrick Mahomes? I mean, he has the storyline every MVP wishes they had. In the offseason, he lost his number one weapon, Tyreek Hill. Everyone thought, oh, the Chiefs might be done. Their dynasty, their reign over the AFC might be coming to an end. The Raiders are there. They have Devontae Adams. They've been much improved. Broncos country, let's ride.
Let's
right?
ride.
They got Russell Wilson. They could be a threat to the Chiefs. The Chargers, Justin Herbert and them, they're progressing. They're getting good. They could take over the AFC West. And once again, Patrick Mahomes comes on in and dominates every single divisional game, destroys all the AFC opponents again, once again looking like they're going to be the 1 seed in the AFC. They have won 25 straight games in the months of November and December. That's unheard of. 25 straight games, destroying every division game, haven't lost a road game ever in Patrick Mahomes' tenure as the quarterback. I mean, he has all the stats. He has the narratives. People doubted him in the offseason, and he came in and is putting up even better numbers this year without Tyreek Hill. It's so obviously Patrick Mahomes this year, and I just don't see anyone really competing with him.
Who I would want to give it to is Tua. And the thing is, you pretty much have to play in every single game of the season to have a chance at this award. Because of his concussion and because of the games that he missed, I'm afraid that he's just simply not eligible is not the right word, but in all actuality, he's just not going to be eligible for the award. More yards attempt than any other player in the league, least amount of sacks, a great touchdown to interception ratio, 6-1. Patrick Mahomes is 4-1. Tua's he's been a leader, and especially for the Dolphins, a team that's kind of been on the rise. What happened to him, halfway through the season, a little bit earlier than that, was low-key tragic. But since coming back, 3 touchdowns in his last 3 games. I mean, just so consistent. His passing numbers have been great. No interceptions in that stretch, given they haven't played any amazing teams either. But I think Tua's played as one of the most complete quarterbacks in the league, and it's kind of turned into a quarterback's award. You'd have to do something kind of insane, and I think the 3 of us all have 3 different quarterbacks in mind for the MVP race, but he feels complete to me.
I mean, I could absolutely see Tua winning the MVP. He has been very good this season, and I'm not going to rule him out just because he missed a couple games. I mean, last year Aaron Rodgers missed a game and still got that MVP award. But when you look at it, Tua added Mahomes' number 1 weapon. He added Tyreek Hill, and Mahomes is still putting on a better season. I just don't see how anyone other than Mahomes, with his name, with his narrative, with his stats, with the team's record, with him probably winning the number 1 seed in the AFC once again, I just don't see how it can't be him.
Oh, I think it's going to be him. I don't know if he's the most deserving because he has that huge narrative thing. The Mahomes-Kelce narrative will be a thing until both of them retire. It's going to be the Brady-Gronk. It's going to be the Brady-Belichick. It's Mahomes-Kelce. It's right up there. He's going to win the award. I mean, at this point, he's probably the favorite. It's his to lose, and now he's going to be in a similar position Josh Allen was probably in a month ago, where it's his award to lose. But so we've talked last week. Josh Allen and the Bills haven't exactly been clutch, but we know that Mahomes and the Chiefs are, and we saw that again last night.
So we've got the headline names like Tua Tagovailoa and Patrick Mahomes,
oh boy,
along with Jalen Hurts,
oh boy,
and possibly Josh Allen in there too. But a guy we haven't been talking as much about, and who's been going under the radar, give me Geno Smith, baby. Okay, hear me out real quick. He has a chance not only to win the MVP, but also comeback player of the year. He's got a chance to double dip in the NFL awards at the end of the season. For a team that was supposed to be in a rebuilding year and that was viewed as crazy, with no one trying to be considering them for contention. And they were considered wild for not making a trade for Jimmy G. And now the 49ers look like geniuses for not trading Jimmy G. And so do the Seattle Seahawks for keeping Geno Smith as their starting quarterback because he has exceeded all expectations. He's not only had Seattle in the first place spot in the very competitive NFC West, but he has also had the Seahawks just one win away from tying their win total from last season with still 7 games left to play on the year. He's top 5 in QBR, top 6 in touchdowns with 17 touchdowns and interceptions with just 4. And he's also currently 7th in passing yards with nearly 2,500. But where he really makes things interesting in this MVP race is his completion percentage. You were talking about Tua's efficiency. Then you look at Geno Smith, who did the first 4 games of this season, had a completion percentage of 77.3%, which was better than any other quarterback that has ever posted a minimum of 125 pass attempts in the history of the NFL. Tom Brady, Dan Marino, Joe Montana, you name it. Geno Smith was better. And he's only dipped off just slightly since then. He's still 72.8% completion percentage, still leads the NFL. And I mean, Dan Orlovsky even went on the record saying that there's no quarterback that has more perfect throws than Geno Smith. Just taking it at that, he's going under the radar. He's got the statistics there. He's got the narrative there, taking Seattle, a franchise that was looked as not being very good this season, and leading them atop the NFC West, which brought about the Super Bowl champion last year in the Los Angeles Rams, who have been terrible, and they've really took control of this division. Who knows what happens in the second half of the season, but I'm just saying, don't sleep on Geno Smith.
I can see the case being made for Geno. I mean, like you said, he has the stats, he has the narrative, but the reason I can't give it to him, the third category I said, you need that big household name.
Yeah.
The Seahawks, they don't get the primetime games that the Chiefs or the Bills or the Eagles do. Because he doesn't have that household name, they don't get those primetime slots. People just aren't going to be able to give it to him in the end. And I know it's not voted by fans, but it just goes down the same way every single year. The people that are either a 1 or 2 seed with the best quarterback on the one of the best teams is the one that always wins the MVP.
And just on the topic of the MVP race and kind of swinging it back to something that you said earlier with his connection with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Last night they played the Chargers, as you were saying. They were able to handle them well, and they claimed that with 90 seconds left to play in the fourth quarter. Mahomes marched his team down the field like he has done so many times. That household name, 75-yard game-winning drive. That was capped off by a 19-yard touchdown to none other than Travis Kelce. That's their third touchdown connection of that night. And then the dynamic duo has combined for 11 touchdowns altogether this season, currently leads the league. So with that being said, do you see any other duo in the league that is more dominant than Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes?
No. Oh, Ben?
I mean, dominant, no, because I think the nature of a tight end makes Kelce more dangerous in the red zone than probably any wide receiver. It's just kind of the nature of being a tight end. When the field's a little bit shorter, a tight end can get more dangerous. When you look at big shots downfield, it's going to be your traditional guys, your Tyreek Hills, Diggs, Kupp, Jefferson, anything like that. They have that narrative, though, and that's what we're just talking about. I mean, they're dominant in the red zone, and there's a reason that they have 11 touchdowns. I mean, that's more than any other receiver in the league. So yeah, I mean, he has the least amount of targets and the most amount of touchdowns. So if you look at a piece of paper, you're like, oh, that guy's probably the best. But it's hard to compare tight ends and wide receivers for me. For whatever reason, I just find it a hard comparison because it's a different position. But yeah, I mean, Kelce's the best tight end in the league and has been for, probably ever since Gronk left, and even a little bit of overlap on Gronk's last couple of years. But I'd like to say that Tyreek Hill is the best receiver right now. Yeah, I like Tyreek Hill and Tua.
I think Mahomes and Kelce are by far the best duo in football. I mean, like you're saying, he is a tight end, but he still is 6th in receiving yards, leads the league in touchdowns, has 69 receptions. I mean, he has multiple games of 3+ touchdowns. He's unbelievable. Every single solitary week, people are, just try and cover Kelce and the Chiefs won't be able to do anything. And they can't. It's just like no team has a good plan to scheme up and defend Mahomes and Kelce together. If Rodgers and Adams were still together, maybe there's some competition, but there is no competition for best quarterback receiving duo in the league. It is so easily Kelce and Mahomes. You have the best quarterback and the best tight end together, and they're just unstoppable.
I do agree there that best tight end, best quarterback duo in the league, but I like what Ben said just about their two different positions, and I feel like it's hard to compare.
And what you say is probably that top 5 easily of all time. When you think about quarterback, tight end, you think Brady, Gronk, Kelce, Mahomes. Who else?
If we're talking about just solely tight end,
quarterback.
If we're talking about quarterback receiver, that's a whole
it's completely
different
different. But for tight end quarterback,
and that's
probably a top 2 of all time.
And that's what tight end
quarterback. Yeah. I think Kelce, Mahomes, Brady, Gronk are probably the top 2 in whatever order you want.
Yeah, I just feel like it's so hard to compare quarterbacks and tight ends to quarterbacks and receivers because they play in two different styles. And like you were saying, Tua and Tyreek, I think you can also make a case right now for Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, because Justin Jefferson, I think, has been the best receiver in the league this year. And yes, it's not so much the play of Kirk Cousins, it's more so on the end of Justin Jefferson just going and being a playmaker. But if we're just talking about solely the sample size of this season, and we look at Justin Jefferson, yes, he may have not had the touchdown numbers that Kelce has, but he leads the league in receiving yards and is on pace to also be with Tyreek along there for a 2,000-yard season. They're right up neck and neck with each other, and Justin Jefferson is so much younger and has so much upside.
But Diggs is right there too. And Diggs and Allen get more narrative than the Jefferson connection. To me, I mean, Stephon Diggs is just never going to go away. He's just like Tyreek. I mean, none of these guys are going to go away. They're just good receivers. It's hard to pick, it's hard to compare, but also because every playbook's different. Every style of play is different. It's hard to make that, but yeah, I mean, Kelce and Mahomes are simply dominant. There's a reason why he scores so much, because he does it when he needs to. He does it when it's important.
Yeah, I just think if we're just talking about equal dominance from each side, Kelce and Mahomes have the best balance there. It's not more one working more than the other. They're equally as good and equally complement one each other. But kind of just swinging it back to the topic of the Vikings and Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, they're supposed to be the best team in the NFL after they knocked off the Bills in wild fashion last week. Well, that's no longer the case, as they got knocked off their high horse by a bunch of Cowboys who ran them out of town. 40-3, the final score. It was a devastating defeat for the Vikings. Just their second loss of the season. That first one coming to the Philadelphia Eagles, another top NFC contender, along with the Cowboys, who now improved to 7-3. So just in evaluating that game, who do you think was the bigger impact, or what would you say was the bigger factor in that game? The disappointing performance from Kirk Cousins or the outstanding performance from Dak Prescott?
That's tough, because I think that Cowboys defense just did such a great job on Kirk to where he just really had no chance in the game. And then the two-headed backfield of Tony Pollard and Zeke were phenomenal together. I'm going to say overall, I mean, it's very difficult because obviously both had an aspect to play in the game. I'm going to say the disappointing play from Kirk was the bigger problem, though. I mean, going down that much and not even be able to put up garbage time points is just bad. Kirk and the Vikings as a whole were not ready to come into this game and play at all. They were still too focused on last week and their win against the Bills to where they did not prepare well enough and they weren't ready for this type of game. And in the end, we saw what happened. It was an absolute just domination.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a good football team should be able to find the end zone at least 3 times a game, put up 20-plus points. So For the Cowboys to score 40, it's like, okay, like you should have scored. You should have scored more than 3. So no matter what, you should have won this game. Only putting up 3 points, if you're the Vikings, it's bad. It's embarrassing. You should be able to do more than that. And yeah, that's a testament to, of course, the amazing defense of the Cowboys, which has kind of been their patented thing for a long time, is this Cowboys defense, and it went away for a while, but now it's starting to come back. So, the last 2 weeks have been a big deal for both of these teams. It's like, okay, one team's obviously trending up after that, the other team's trending down, so who can kind of overcome that adversity? It's about to be December. The games are about to matter a lot as you enter, the last 7-8 weeks of the season, a little bit less than that. But yeah, I think that's a lot more about Kirk Cousins just being awful. Only putting up 3 points. I don't care what team it's against. Only putting up 3 points, especially, as you said, in garbage time. As football games go on, games always open up. You should be, when you're up by 37, you don't want to play defense as hard as you were when you started the game, because you don't have to.
And they still couldn't do anything.
It's exactly. Like, I don't even blame them. Like, I'd get lazy if I was up 30 points, but they still couldn't score on them. So yeah, that's just kudos to some awesome defense yesterday.
See, I like how you were mentioning good teams put up 3+ touchdowns. I don't see a single good team in the NFC. Sure, the Eagles, they went on a streak. They went 8-0, lost to the Commanders, almost lost to the Colts,
Well,
barely
do you
won
agree
in the
that
end.
good teams should score 20-ish points a game?
Yes, they should absolutely score more. But every single solitary week, one of the good teams completely just doesn't show up. Every single week. The week before, it was the Cowboys against the Packers. This week, it was the Vikings against the Cowboys. And the week before, again, the Eagles against the Commanders. All I know is everyone's seen all these teams, and at the end of the year, it's going to be Tom Brady and the Bucks going into the playoffs, playing against your boy Geno Smith in the first round, or maybe Daniel Jones, maybe playing the Eagles, get a game against Jalen Hurts, and then have to play Kirk Cousins. Like there's no great team in the NFC, and it's all going to come down to Brady once again blowing people out in the playoffs and going to the NFC Championship game.
I love
and
that,
probably
actually.
making the entire NFL community cry once again.
I will agree with you in the sense that when it comes to the postseason, Brady is like
The best.
no other.
It's the best.
He
He's
has
the best. He's
he
the
has
best.
the most clear and easy path to a Super Bowl than he's ever had in his entire career. Like, think about it. He doesn't have a Manning to go against this year. He doesn't have a Rodgers to go against this year. He has a Daniel Jones or Geno Smith.
He's got a point.
Like,
That's a really good take.
they're winning their division. The Falcons aren't going to compete with them. They're getting a home playoff game against Daniel Jones or Geno Smith. That's a guaranteed divisional round where he plays maybe Kirk Cousins in prime time, and then what? Goes to Jalen Hurts in Philly, the team he beat by 30 in the playoffs last year. I mean, Brady's going back to the Super Bowl. Mahomes is winning MVP, and it's gonna be horrible. And I'm gonna be so sad watching football in January.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm kind of speechless after that because you kind of explained it so well.
That was
it's-
amazing.
It's so true. It's like hard to undo its trueness, but it'll definitely be interesting to see. The NFC is definitely struggled in years past to find a solid contender each and every year. On the AFC side, it's pretty much always been the Chiefs, and the NFC, it's usually always a toss-up with who they send to the Super Bowl, and it could really be anyone's games. I mean, we saw the Rams last year go to the Super Bowl, and a couple of years ago we saw the Eagles, and so on and so forth. It's really a toss-up, and now, as you're saying, Brady could get his shot once again. But moving on back to the AFC, as we were just mentioning, the tougher division of the two, or conference rather, the New York Jets came up short this weekend against the New England Patriots by a final score of 10-3. It was a low-scoring defensive game. And in the post-game press conference, Jets quarterback Zach Wilson was asked if he felt like he let the defense down at all. Now, for context, this is a guy who threw for negative 21 passing yards in the second half. I don't understand how you throw for negative passing yards, but this guy did. And so when he was asked that question, if he let the defense down, he said bluntly, no. Thoughts?
I feel like I should be able to talk about this because the Broncos have the best defense and the worst offense in the league. And I remember back in the Manning era, you know, there's a stretch where the Broncos had a tough time winning games, and it was like the no-fly zone era where the Broncos defense was electric in that Peyton Manning, of all people, couldn't back them up. So that causes problems in the locker room, and I don't know who can willingly go into a press conference and do that. Like, I don't know, like, what they tell players to do, but if I'm Zach Wilson in that situation, the quarterback of a football team who's a leader no matter who you are because you're the quarterback of the team, you say, yeah, like, that's on me. Like, you take responsibility. Like, I just don't understand how you do that. It's not even like they got blown out. Like, it was a close football game. Like, they could have won that game. That sucks. That really sucks, where it's like, that's going to cause division in the locker room. That's going to cause problems. And the Jets, with the start of their season, people are like, okay, you know, this might not be regular Jets football. Like, something different might happen this year. This is something that can ruin that. That pisses people off. Like, that could get really bad. And you know how the New York media is. Like, there's going to be division regardless, but there's gonna be a problem in New York, I guess technically New Jersey, but there's gonna be a problem in the Jets locker room after that.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of Mr. Wilson's comments at all after that game. I mean, your defense allowed 3 points the entire game. They didn't even allow the touchdown at the end. It was a punt return touchdown. Your defense allowed 3 points the whole game, and you lost. Like, it's okay to come out every once in a while and say, yeah, I'm going to take the blame for that one. We see great quarterbacks do it all the time. Rodgers has done it. Brady's done it. Josh Allen did it a few weeks ago. Like, just come out there, say, yeah, I let the team down a little bit today. I averaged, what was it, a couple inches a play per yards per play was like less than a yard per play in the second half. I let us down. We only put up 3 points. Yeah, the loss is on me a little bit. Just say that. Don't come out here and say no and try and makes me a little annoyed on him.
Well, considering that Wilson has more interceptions with 5 than touchdowns with 4, and is only averaging 100 passing yards per game, 100. And also, just a report came out today that Robert Saleh is not going to be committing to him next week. It is going to be definitely
Joe
division.
Flacco's coming back, baby.
Division in the locker room for sure. But shifting up gears, we're gonna go straight to the big game of today, the World Cup final. United States men's national team made their first World Cup appearance in nearly 8 years in Qatar today. They had a back and forth battle, got out to a hot start, were able to score a key goal, but then in the 82nd minute, Gareth Bale came back and got the PK to make it a 1-1 draw as the U.S. claims a point to open things up. How should we evaluate the Americans' debut? Ben, considering you're wearing the USA jersey,
I am. I did dress up for the occasion today. I was very excited to put this on this morning. I'm impressed. Could they have won that game? Absolutely. But guess what? They didn't lose. And I know a lot of people, especially in the soccer world, that would disagree with me and say a draw is a loss, especially when you were up for most of the game.
Not when we got a point.
That's true. The U.S., the nature of the U.S. and this team, such a young team, biggest stage they'll play on together, I'm impressed. A 1-1 draw, monumental in terms of a loss. So now it's like, okay, these guys might have a chance coming on Friday, and that'll be the fate of what happens to the U.S. in the World Cup. If they can split with England or perhaps pull out a win, probably not going to happen. If they can split instead of taking a loss, things could get serious for the red, white, and blue.
Yeah, second youngest team in the whole tournament this year. Let's just go, maybe split, and then hopefully, definitely beat Iran, and we should be money. We should be qualifying and keeping this thing going a little bit longer.
Quickly, before we get to our always moment of the weekend, big feast week, slate of games, lots of rivalries across college football, and then in the NFL as well. Who you got for your favorite rivalry game this week?
Sticking in the NFL, I have the Giants and the Cowboys. It's going to be a big game. that the Cowboys, I think, have to win.
Gonna go with probably one of the longest rivalries of all time since 1776. USA England World Cup on Black Friday. You know, not exactly a primetime game, but Revolutionary War champs. So we'll see if they can do it again on Friday.
And I've got another long-lasting rivalry dating back 120 years, 123 years to be exact. Oregon versus Oregon State, the biggest matchup between these two schools since 2012. Ranked both in the top 25. It's going to be electric. Ben, without further ado, moment of the weekend.
I got the TCU fire drill field goal to keep them unbeaten against Baylor. They're on upset alert late. No timeouts. About 17 seconds left. Finally get that off, get it in. That was clutch. The Ohio buzzer beater against Michigan on the inbound, full court, off the basket, missed the first one, rebound, make the second one as time expires to get it into overtime. And finally, shout out to my man, Rory McIlroy, now the best golfer in the world, finished the FedEx Cup #1, and now the European Tour #1. He's saying he's playing the best golf of his life. I love that guy.
It's been such a fun time with you all. We hope you have a great rest of your feast week. Have a good time with your families, and we'll see you all next Monday for this edition of Bottom of the Sixth.
Bye.